Hello friends. So now today I'm going to discuss about the CSS. So CSS we are using to design the web pages. We have already discussed about the HTML and HTML we are using to display the data in the web browser. So now I'm going forward with the CSS. So CSS we are using to design the web pages. Okay, so first of all guys, I'm just opening the editor and then creating a page, HTML page. So exercise 1.html. Okay, so the HTML syntax. So HTML start with the doc type HTML, then the HTML head start, head end, body start, body end, and the HTML head in the last. So as I said guys, CSS we are using to design the web pages and we are using CSS on the top of the HTML. So let me create a paragraph and inside the paragraph I'm just writing this is paragraph. Now in this paragraph, if I'm going to run this into the browser, you can see we are getting this is paragraph. Now let's say I want to put some color here. So what we can do is in this style, in the paragraph, we can have the style. Style we can use inside the paragraph. So style, and in this style, I want the color is red. So what happens is when I'm going to run this in the browser, so let me resize the screen so that you can see both together in the word wrap. So guys, you can see here we are getting the paragraph, and when I'm refreshing I'm getting into the red color. So we are using color red if you want to display the paragraph in the red color. So we are using style in the same paragraph, so this is called inline CSS. It means whenever we are using the CSS on the same line, we are having the style. So whenever we are doing like this is called the inline CSS. It means we are using the CSS in the same line, inline CSS. In the same way we can use this internal style sheet also. So let me create h1, and in the h1 I'm just writing this is header. And now let's say I want to change the color of this. So in the head we can use the style tag. In this style, first we are just writing the selector name. So selector name is h1, and then the curly bracket start and close. So this is the syntax of the CSS. And then I want to apply some CSS, so I can write, let's say color is red. And then when I'm refreshing this in the browser, you can see we are having the header which is in color red. So if you want to give the CSS, we can use the internal CSS also. So this is called the inline CSS. It means we are putting the CSS in the same line. And then for header, we are having the internal style sheet. So for the internal style sheet, we are just using the style into the head section. And let's say I'm having another paragraph. So this is this is paragraph 2. In the same way, I can have another paragraph. This is paragraph 3. Again creating one more paragraph. This is paragraph 4, like this. So when I'm refreshing, you can see we are getting this is paragraph 2, 3, 4. And let me keep this name 1. So paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4. So for first paragraph, we have written the color red. And for the rest of all, we have not written any CSS. So we are getting into the black color. So guys, we can have the CSS inline CSS like this, or I can use the internal style sheet also like this. So I can define the h1 and then I can use the style tag and put the CSS inside it. So there is two options. One is inline CSS, second is internal CSS. So what is the advantage of internal CSS over inline CSS? So see guys, let's say I want this 2, 3, 4 also in red color. So what I need to do if I'm using the inline CSS, I need to use the style tag in all the paragraphs. It means I need to copy this and then paste it here also, then in the paragraph 2 as well, so here as well, then in this also, and then when I'm refreshing you can see everywhere I'm getting this. But guys, do you think we are writing the same CSS again and again in the inline CSS even we want the red color for each paragraph? So what we can do is instead of inline CSS we can use the internal CSS. So I'm just removing all the styles from here, and then you can see only the paragraph 1 is getting color red. So what we can do here is we can just write the paragraph, and then in the paragraph I want the red color. So even this is not required now. So what is going to be happens is, now if I am having 4 paragraphs, all the paragraphs will come in the red color. So I can have defined this paragraph 1, then this is my remaining 2, 3, 4, and then you can see everything is coming into the red color. So guys, this is how we can put the CSS for the paragraphs. And then this h1 is my header. So advantage of using the internal CSS is, like, we do not need to write the same code, same inline CSS again and again. We can just write one time and then it will take all the paragraphs. So instead of writing the same code again and again, we can define the internal CSS and then we can put it there. Now there is one more type of CSS, that is called external CSS. It means there is three types of CSS: inline CSS, internal CSS, and external CSS. So in the external CSS, what we are doing is we are just creating a separate file, and then inside that separate file we are putting the CSS. So what we can do is, like, we can create a separate file, and then in the separate file we can have the CSS. So that is called external CSS. So you can see this. So what we need to do is we can just create a new CSS. So I'm just going to create a new CSS. Let's say style.css. And then in the CSS, I'm just taking all my codes which is there in this style, removing it from here and then putting here. And then I can just include this. So I can write style link rel style sheet, and href is my style.css. And now if I'm going to refresh this page, you can see the same styles is applied. And if I'm removing this, so let's say I don't want this, and then saving it, so there is no CSS. So guys, hope you understand what I'm trying to say. Like, we are just using the external CSS so that we can apply the CSS here. We can do the internal CSS as well, but the advantage of using the external CSS is we can have the separate CSS page and we can put all the CSS code inside the separate page. So instead of putting everything in the same HTML page, we can have a separate CSS page and we can put all the CSS together. And then let's say if you are having any exercise 2.html. So let me create the exercise 2.html. And in this also, let's say I'm having the same page, or okay. And then if I'm running the exercise 2, you can see the same CSS in exercise 2 as well. So in exercise 1 also, exercise 2 also. It means I can use exercise 1. So CSS title. Okay, so it means I can use this page anywhere now. So if I'm having 5 HTML pages, I can use this style.css everywhere. So this is what the advantage of using the external CSS is. whenever it is required, we can just use it. So we do not need to write the code again and again. In case of internal also, like it would, if I'm using the internal CSS, then only the exercise1.html can use that. But if I'm using the external CSS, if I'm creating another HTML page, so that HTML page can also use my CSS, because we have created a separate page. So we can just include that page and then we'll get the CSS. So again guys, I'm just repeating it again. So three types of CSS. Inline CSS, it means we are putting the CSS in the same line. Internal CSS, we are putting into the style tag on the same HTML page. And then external CSS, we can create a separate CSS page and then we can put all our CSS code in the separate. So advantage of doing that is we can use the same external file anywhere, means in any HTML page. Moving forward, so this is what the syntax is, like selector, property and value. So if you can see here, I have used the selector, which is h1. In my case, it is h1, and then property. Property is the color and the value is red. So this is what the property is. And then we can give the CSS to the body as well. So let's say I want to apply for the entire body. So I can use this and just paste it here. And now when I'm refreshing the page, you can see the background color changes and the font family also changes. So let's say I just want the Vardhana, I don't want this. So this is changes. I don't want the font family, so I'm just removing it. So you can see this is the default font. So in the same way we can have like h1, p, we can have multiple CSS. So let's say what I want is, in this I want to apply multiple CSS. So instead of color red also I want, and I want a border also. So we can just write border, and then I want border is 1px solid red. So I want a border also in red color. So I've just write it, a border is 1 pixel solid and red. And when I'm refreshing, you can see the border is also come. So you can just put the semicolon and then you can apply the multiple CSS like I have applied for h1 tag. Now let's say here I'm having h1, I'm creating the h2 also. So this is my another header. This is header 2. Then I'm creating the h3. This is header 3. Then h4. This is header 4. And h5. This is header 5. And then h6. This is header 6. And now I want, if you see in the browser, you can see the h1, h2, h3, h4, h5, h6 like this. So h1 I have used 2 times, so let me write h2 here. So you can see here like the header is h1, h2, h3, h4, h5 and h6. Now let's say I want to apply this CSS, which is color red and the border 1 pixel solid red, to all the h2, h3, h4, h6 also. So what I can do is I can just put a comma here. So I can write h1, comma, h2, comma, h3, comma, h4, comma, h5, comma, h6. And then when I'm refreshing the browser, you can see this is applied to all the h1, h2, h3, h4, h5, h6. So guys, you can see like how many lines of number of code we are saving here. So we have written h1, h2, h3, h4, h5 and h6. Okay guys, so this is how we can have the h1, h2, h3. So we can just put a comma and then apply the CSS to all the h1 to h6. So all the headers. Now going forward, next is the comment part. So let's say if you don't want to display the CSS, you can just write the comment like this, and then here also. So now if you see in the browser, there is no CSS. Every CSS is removed now because we have used the h1, h2, h3. We have used the comment, so we cannot see the any CSS because we have commented it. Now guys, next is we can use the ID and class also to provide the CSS. So ID and class, there is two things. So first I'm just explaining what is ID. Sorry, what is class. So what we can do is, if you see here, I'm having no CSS right now. So let me uncomment this code because yeah, I want to apply the CSS. Now this paragraph also I'm removing it and then saving this. So you can see the paragraph is not having any CSS. Now what I want is, I just want to use the class here. So what we can do is, we can just use the class here. So like in the paragraph, this is class, and let's say the class is 1, and for this, so instead of 1 we can write para. Okay, so this is para means paragraph, and then here also I can just write the class is para. And because see, I'm having how many paragraphs? 4 paragraphs. First paragraph, okay, let me take this paragraph below so that every paragraph will come together. Okay, so this is the first paragraph, second paragraph, third paragraph, fourth paragraph. So when I'm refreshing, you cannot see any changes, only the paragraph I have placed all in one place. Now, sorry. Now what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to apply the CSS to only this. So I'm just using the class which is para. And what I can do is, I can go in this style, and for class we are using the dot and the class name, and then we can apply the CSS. So I want the color is green. So when I'm applying the color green, you can see the color is green. So this 2 and 3 paragraphs come into the green color. Again, if you want to apply the CSS for this also, paragraph 4, we can again write the class and then the para. So you can see this is applied for last one as well. And here, if we write for C only the paragraph, if I'm saying color is red, so you can see only my first paragraph is in red color, but rest, because I have provided the class, it's using the class only, which is para, and I have just used the color is green. So only my first paragraph I'm getting the red, but for my other paragraphs I'm getting the green. So because I have used the class para, so I'm getting the green, but for first we are getting the color is red. So I've just chosen the P, which is first paragraph, and the color is red. Got it guys? So this is how we are using the classes. Because if you are using the paragraph and then if you are providing the CSS, and let's say if you are having 10 paragraphs, so for each 10 paragraphs the color is red. But let's say in those 10 paragraphs I just want to keep 8 paragraphs red, but remaining 2 I want in green color. So we can apply the class there, and then we can apply the CSS which is color green. And also we can repeat the class. It means if you see my HTML code, I have write the para 3 times. It means I can use the class again and again. So it's not like I can use only one time. I can call multiple times. Now in the same way guys, we are having the ID also. So what we can do is, instead of class, we can use the ID as well. So what we can do is, instead of class, we can write the ID here. So let me create some more paragraphs. So I'm just creating the more paragraph. This is paragraph 5. This is paragraph 6. This is paragraph 7. This is paragraph 8. And now I'm just refreshing this. So you can see like paragraph 5, 6, 7, 8. So we are getting this 5, 6, 7, 8 as well. Now, what happens is in this style.css, you can see my rest of the paragraphs is also in red color because I have given the color red. But let's say I want this paragraph in blue color. So what we can do is we can apply the ID. So I can just write the ID, and again it is para only. So I'm just writing the para because you can use any name here. And then whenever we are using the ID, we are using the hash. So hash and then para, and inside this we can write the CSS. So I want in blue color. So now when I'm refreshing the page, you can see this paragraph comes into the blue color. So guys, we can have the ID also like this. So we can just give the ID. So whenever we are giving the ID, we are using the hash. So we are using the hash and then the ID name, which is para, and then we are just applying the CSS, which is color blue. And then you can see the blue color here. So the difference between class and ID is class we can repeat, but ID we cannot repeat. So don't repeat the ID again and again because ID is a unique, and the class we can repeat it again and again. Next is div. So guys, in CSS this is very important because most of the time we are using the div and span. So for div we are using the div start and end, and for example this is div 1. Again I'm creating a new div, so this is div 2. Then again div, this is div 3. This is div 4, like this. And when I'm refreshing in the browser, you can see I'm having the div 1, div 2, div 3 and div 4. So div is, guys, it is a block level element. What is block element is? Block level element means it will come one after one. So if you can see the div 1, then div 2, then div 3, then div 4. So I haven't put any break, but still it's coming one by one because I have written the div. Div is a block level element and div always come one by one. So div 1, div 2, div 3 and div 4. Now let's say I want to have some CSS in the div also. So I want all my divs in orange color. So what we can do is in the style.css we can write the div, and I want my div color is orange. So when I'm refreshing this, you can see all my div into the orange color. Now let me give some more CSS. So let's say I'm writing border, which is 2px solid green. So I want to apply the border also. So you can see there is a border also come, which is 2px solid and green. So again guys, div is a block level element, so it's coming one by one, line by line, and I'm just applying the CSS like we have already applied before also. And because this is a div, so my selector name is div. Inside div also you can use the ID and class. So if you want to use the class, you can just write the class name, and even you can use the ID also. So for example, ID is equal to para. So you can use the ID and class both inside your div. Now the most important tag is, the next important tag is span. So instead of div we can have the span as well. So what is happening in the span? So let me create the span also. So in the span, for example, I am writing this is span 1, this is span 2, this is span 3, span 4. And now when I'm refreshing this in the browser, you can see all spans is coming one by one. It means instead of block level element, it is an inline element. It means everything is coming one by one. So whenever we are using the span, it means all the span will come one by one. So first, second, third, fourth, like this. So instead of coming line by line, like one by one, it's come line by line means instead of putting a break, it's coming one by one. So you can see like span 1, span 2, span 3, span 4. Okay guys, so the span is a inline element. Now again, if I want to write some CSS for the span, so what we can do is instead of, again we can have the span and we can write, let's say the color is green and I want a border also. Yellow. So you can see guys, we are having this because the yellow is very light color, so maybe you cannot see the border. So let me change this, instead of yellow, pink, when the pink is also light, but is still you can see at least. So the span you can see like it's coming one by one. So the difference between div and span is div is a block level element which is coming one by one, but the span is an inline element. So div is a block level element which is coming like this one by one. It's put a break, but span is an inline element. It means everything is going to come into the same line. So guys, what is the advantage of using the span? Because there should be some advantage, right? Okay, so let me give you an example. So let's say I'm just creating a span and I'm just writing some name. So let's say the name is Mehtab Singh. Now what I want is, I want a name Mehtab Singh in which I want the Mehtab is in different color and Singh is in different color. So we can use the span there. So what I can do is I can use one span and then again I can write another and then just Singh. And then for this I want, let's say, the red. So I can just use the class which is already there, the para, which is giving us the red only. If you can see, the para is giving red, this para, sorry, the green color we are giving. So just adding the this, and I want the another one in another class. So this is my first class and I'm having the another class. I'm just creating it. Let's say para 2. So here in this I need to create the class which is para 2, and then I can use the CSS here. So I just want some different color. So let's say the blue only, or the blue violet. Okay. Now if I'm refreshing the page, you can see guys, the Mehtab is coming in this color, the Singh is coming in this color. So it means if you are having a content and if you want to show different CSS on different characters, so at that place also we can use the span. So this is very very important and we are using this very frequently. So in the document example you can see I have just written the name which is Harshvardhan Tiwari, and then I have just used the S name. For S name I have given the color red, so this Harsh will be in red color. For middle name I have given the color green, and for last name I have color the brown. So if I'm going to run this, you can see the Harsh in red color, Vardhan in green color, and then Tiwari in brown color. Okay guys, so now I'm just moving into the very very important topic. Without this, CSS is nothing. So the most important topic of the CSS is the box model. Now what is box model is? So guys, what happens is whenever you are writing anything, like let's say I'm just creating a div. So because this is very important, so I'm just creating a new page, and my new page is, instead of here, I'm just going here and creating a new page, exercise 3.html, and then again the HTML syntax in the body section. I'm just creating a div. This is my content. Okay, now just running this in the browser. So this is exercise 3. You can see this is my content. So guys, now I'm going to explain you the box model. So what is this box model is, whatever I've write it inside the div, this is my content, so this is the content. After content, if you can see this page, this is called padding. It means if I'm just applying some CSS here, so I'm just using the internal CSS. I'm saying I want to give the CSS for the div, and I want the border which is 2px solid red, and then this style. Now when I'm running it, you can see there is a border. So guys, this is my content, is basically this is the content, and if you see this space, this is called the padding. So if you can see this diagram, this is nothing but this is the padding, and this corner is the border. So we have given the border here which is red, and outside border there is margin. So content C, padding P, CP, P means padding, B means border, M means margin. So content, padding, border, margin, C, P, B, M. So C means content, P means padding, B means border, M means margin. So you need to remember this, C, P, B, M. This is the all box model. So if I'm saying, okay, now let's discuss about the padding. So if I'm saying padding top, it means from the top side. If I'm saying padding right, then from the right side. Bottom, left, top, right, bottom, like the clockwise. How the clock work? In the same way. Top, then right, bottom, left. Top, right, bottom, left. Top, right, bottom, left. Top, right, bottom, left. So now let's say I want to give some padding. So I can just write padding, and this padding I want 10px. So this px is basically the pixel. So I'm just running this, and you can see the border is increased. Let me create one more div so that you can see it clearly. So this is my another div, and for this I'm just running it. So you can see here like all the divs is having this, and I'm just using the class here. So dot, let's say my class name is div class. So this is my class. I'm just using class div class. So you can see only for first is applied, not for second one. But yes, for second one also I want to give some CSS. So let me add the ID here, and the ID I'm just writing div ID. And as I said, we are using the hash, then the name of the selector which is div ID, and then we can put the CSS in the curly bracket. And then inside this again I want this border. So I'll just write it a border here. And instead of 10 pixel, I am just want 5 pixel. So now guys, you can see there is two divs. One is in this and the second is this. Now if I'm saying padding 10 pix means take from all the sides. And then if I'm saying margin, and then I'm saying margin is also 10px. So you can see the margin like outside, from outside the div, from every side there is 10 pixels. In the same way here also I can add, if I want to margin is 10px. Now guys, let's say you want the margin only from the left, because if you write only margin, it will take from all the direction, from the top also, from the right also, from the bottom also, and from the left also. So let's say you want margin only from the left side, so you can write margin and then left, and then I want 50 pixel from the left. So you can see here we are getting only from the left side. Instead of left, let's say for the next one I want the margin right, so we can write margin right, I want 20 px. So when I'm refreshing it, you can see it's went here 20 pixel. In the same way we can give the top also, so I can write margin top, and from margin top also if I want 40 px, so I'm just writing margin top 40 px, and then you can see the margin top is 40 px. For this also I want some margin, so I can write margin top for this also, and I want 30 px or I want 40 px. So guys, you can see if I'm using margin top 40 px, it's basically giving us the margin top which is 40 px. And then in the same way left top we can have the margin right also, so margin right and then 30 px, and from left top right bottom. So you can see like for the first, the padding margin top is 50 pixel, margin top is 50 pixel, margin right is 30 pixel, margin bottom is 30 pixel, and left is, I'm just taking the left below, so top is 50 pixel, this right is 30 pixel, bottom is 30 pixel, and the left is 50 pixel outside. And if I'm doing the same for padding also, so we can write the padding as well. So we just need to write, instead of margin we can write padding. So if I'm doing the padding, you can see from internal, from inside, the margin top is 50, margin right is 30, because we are having a very few content, so you cannot see the difference actually. But in the bottom again you can see the 30 pixel, and from the left side it is 50 pixel. So if I want to increase it, I can just make it, let's say 100 pixel. So you can see from left side it's went there. So guys, this is how we are using this. In the same way, so we are having the border as well. So if you see here in the document, we can have the margin top, margin left, margin right, and margin bottom. So you can write like this also. If you are writing margin, okay, if you are writing margin 10 px, 5 px, 15 px, and 20 px. So what does it mean? It means from the top it is 10 px, from the right it is 5 px, from the bottom it is 15 px, and from the left it is 20 px. If you are giving only 3, so let's say if you are giving only this 10 px, 5 px, and 50 px, what does it mean? It means from the top we want 10 px, from the right and left we want 5 px, and from the bottom we want 15 px. So if you are giving only 3, it means first top, second right left, and third bottom. Now if you are giving only 2, so let's say if you are writing only this 10 px and 5 px, what does it mean? It means from the top and bottom 10 px, from the right and left 5 px. And if you are writing only margin 10 px, it means take the 10 px margin from all the directions. In the same way we can use the CSS padding also. So if you are saying padding 10 px, 5 px, 15 px, 20 px, it means it will take from the top 10 px, from the right 5 px, from the bottom 15 px, and from the left 20 px. If you are giving only 3, it means 10 px from the top, right and left 5 px, and from the bottom 15 px. And if you are giving only 2, it means from the top and bottom 10 px, from the right left 5 px. And if you are giving only 1, then it will take from all the sides. Okay guys, so today we have discussed about various CSS topics, like we have discussed about the inline CSS, internal CSS, external CSS. Then we have also discussed the ID and class, like how we can use the ID and class. Then we have discussed about the div and span, and then we have discussed about the box model as well, in which we are having CPBM, content, padding, border, and margin. Okay guys, so now in the next session we are going to move forward and we'll discuss more about the CSS. Thank you.